Hello, everybody. Andrew Blake from the digitalaudiomanual.com with another episode of Cubase Tips for the week of February 20th, 2026. All right, let's talk about remote controlling Cubase. So Cubase has the ability to hook up some kind of MIDI device to send MIDI data and operate certain functions within Cubase. For example, I have a MIDI keyboard hooked up on my system, which allows me to go to any VST instrument, and then hitting keys on my keyboard, I can control that instrument. It also allows me to go to the chord pads, and then hitting keys on my keyboard, I can control the chord pads. And there's various other things. Maybe you don't have a keyboard controller. Maybe you just have some kind of MIDI pad controller or other device like that. Typically, all those things can be connected into Cubase and then used to operate it. Usually, you hook things up with a USB cable, or it could be a standard MIDI cable from your device into your sound card. Sometimes you have to run a MIDI cable from your sound card right back into your device in case you have things like motorized faders or other things that Cubase may have to control. You'll want to look up your own individual documentation for specific steps on things like that. If you have more than one MIDI device, or for some reason you need to deactivate your MIDI devices for testing, if we go back up to the Studio menu, Studio Setup, under our MIDI port setup, you may have to expand this. There's a column over here that says In All MIDI Inputs. You can check these or uncheck them. This is kind of a combined category, allows you to send multiple MIDI devices. We move back over to any particular track and go up to the option under the Routing tab. We can see this drop down that says All MIDI Inputs. And clicking on that, we see we have this category that says All MIDI Inputs. But in my case, I also have the option for my individual MIDI devices. If I have All MIDI Inputs selected and I have things checked back in the Studio setup, then I'm able to hit a track and send MIDI information into that. If I go back up to Studio and the Studio setup and uncheck my options for these All MIDI Inputs, even though I have my track selected and I'm hitting keys on my keyboard, nothing is being sent any longer. And instead, I have to go back to the track routing, now specifically choose whatever device I want to use to send my information. In this case, the Impact LX88. And now when I hit my keyboard again, I'm sending information into this track. This is an interesting option to easily overlook and may cause you results that you don't expect, especially if you're playing your MIDI device and you can't seem to make it connect with anything. You want to decide, do you want that device routed through all MIDI inputs combined with all your other MIDI devices, or do you want it to run only when it's specifically chosen from the list in the Routing tab? Again, if things are working good, you may want to leave everything on the All MIDI Inputs. But if you find yourself having conflicting results or having extraneous MIDI information being sent when you don't expect it to be, that's a good time to investigate using your specific input and checking the results of that. In previous versions of Cubase, if you wanted your device to actually work as a remote control, changing parameters and that kind of thing, you would go up to the Studio menu, to your Studio setup, and you would take this option that says Add a Device, choose your option from this list, if it's in this list. For my example, I'll just choose Generic Remote. And then that shows up in this area that says Remote Devices Legacy. Now, there's a reason that it says Legacy. Let's ignore that for a minute. With that selection highlighted, now over in these right columns, you can set up things like the knobs on your controller, get them to respond, maybe change quick controls with them. You would make selections in this list and make your choices, build your remote control device and its particular commands. But things have now changed, and the preferred way to do that is to open up the lower zone, choose the option that says MIDI Remote, and then go through the steps of building your panel this way. These other options in the Studio setup are still here, and you can still make choices with them. But typically, if you're going to go with the remote from the Remote tab, you're going to want to change these MIDI inputs and outputs to not connected, basically deactivate this option. You're now given a specific wording up here. It says all of this is legacy information, and that soon the setup provided on this page is going to be discontinued. And then they refer you to using the MIDI remote in the lower zone. The main reason I want to point this out to you is because there are still many videos on the internet where you will see people using this screen and setting up devices in Cubase. You want to be aware that, again, this is now legacy information, and this approach is going to be phased out eventually. If you want to remove your device, just highlight it over here on the left and hit this little trash can. Let's talk about the Logical Editor. Cubase has a feature called the Logical Editor. We're looking at its window right now. The basic idea behind this is it allows you to search and replace various MIDI elements in your project. and go very deep by allowing you to set up various filter conditions to find these specific elements. And then once it finds them, you can change the properties of them or completely remove them. And you can set up a list of various actions to specify what can be done. Initially, when I was exploring this, I was a bit confused by the concept that there is a logical editor and there's also what's known as a project logical editor. At first, I thought that was some kind of typo because I thought the logical editor was just the logical editor. But it turns out they are both unique in their operation. The logical editor, which we're talking about now, goes deep into allowing you to analyze various MIDI operations, looking at the notes, the controllers, really digging into the MIDI data. The project logical editor looks at things more from the project view. In other words, looking at tracks, operations that cover your entire project. They both look the same kind of in the window itself. One is designed to look at very small things in the MIDI level, and the other one, the project logical editor, is more designed for an overall view of your project and changing things in that way. Again, we're focusing on the logical editor now, but they both work on the concept of combining various filter operations. You can come up with some very powerful results, performing rather tedious tasks pretty quickly. Of course, learning how to set up operations and the functions involved with this initially requires a little bit of understanding, but the good news is they've also supplied a long list of various presets that cover many of the things you're going to want to do and also give you a chance to analyze those presets and then help you get to something that you may be trying to custom do by just changing a few settings. To begin using the logical editor, you're going to want to select a MIDI part first. Otherwise, when you try to open it up, all of its options may seem grayed out. But once you have some kind of MIDI part selected, go up to your MIDI menu, move down the list, and you'll see the option for Logical Editor. Now you're going to get two choices. One says Setup, and the other one says Apply Preset. Let's choose Setup, and this opens up the Logical Editor dialog box. If you simply want to apply a preset, go to the list. You have these plus and minus buttons. You can expand all the different categories, or you can do a search if you know what you're looking for. There's so many things to browse through here. I'll go to this delete category and choose the option to delete all the data in the selected cycle mark. You have an area here that says the event target filters. This is what sets up the first instructions, what you're trying to do. As you browse through these instructions, you're going to see things like the position or the length or the channel, velocity, just all kinds of things that you can choose from, then various tasks of what's going to happen. In this bottom window, called the Event Transform Actions, depending on what kind of filter you've set up, you'll be given some choices down here as well on how further to affect your data. If you look at the very bottom of this screen, you get the Functions area where you can choose different actions. You want to delete it, you want to transform it, make copies of it, extract it to track, and then finally you have the option on the end to hit Apply and carry out those tasks. If you need to change the size of this window because you have a lot of different commands, you can expand it and change the view from this bar in the middle. So take a moment and open up your Logical Editor, examine some of its many presets, experiment with changing a few of the things in the presets, and have some fun seeing how quickly you can carry out many of the things you find yourself doing over and over again. And if you're looking for complete explanations on these and many more topics like it in Cubase or Wavelab or some of your other music software, be sure to click the link in the description of this video or stop by thedigitalaudio.manual.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.